Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Absolutely. Always excited to explore these fascinating topics.
Well, today we're going right to the heart of Spiritism.
Okay. Sounds intriguing.
It is. We're going to unpack a concept that really jumped out at me. Outside charity, there is no salvation.
Hmm. That's a powerful statement.
It is. And we're going to use a couple of articles from Portal Lusa Spirita to kind of break it all down. Like, where did this phrase come from? What does it really mean? And what are the implications? Especially, compared to some more traditional ideas about salvation.
Yeah, it definitely seems to challenge some conventional thinking.
Exactly. So let's start with the basics, like, the origins of this whole thing. Where did this phrase even pop up and in what context?
Well, it's interesting. This phrase, outside charity, there is no salvation. It was first introduced by Allan Kardec.
Oh, Kardec,
Yeah.
the founder of Spiritism.
That's right. Back in the 1860s. And get this, it was a direct response, a counter-argument, if you will, to the Catholic dogma.
Oh, the one that says outside the church, there is no salvation.
You got it. So, right from the start, you see this tension.
Yeah, Spiritism being all about inclusivity versus this more exclusive doctrine.
Exactly. Kardec first used the phrase in his Spiritist magazine, Revista Espírita.
So that's where it all began.
Right, and it was basically a response to those who saw Spiritism and Christianity as, like, totally incompatible.
Ah, so he was trying to bridge that gap.
Yeah, in a way. And this phrase, outside charity, there is no salvation, it really took hold. It became a cornerstone of his teachings. And eventually, he even devoted a whole chapter to it in his book, The Gospel According to Spiritism.
Wow, so it went from a counter-argument to a central theme.
It did. It shows you how important this idea was to Kardec's whole vision of Spiritism.
Okay, so we've got the historical context. Now let's unpack the meaning. You mentioned earlier that Spiritism has a different perspective on salvation. Can you elaborate on that a bit? What makes it unique?
Sure. One of the biggest differences is the concept of reincarnation.
Reincarnation, right? That whole cycle of rebirth.
Exactly. Spiritism sees life as a continuous journey. It's about spiritual evolution that unfolds across multiple lifetimes, not just one. So, salvation in this context.
It's not about, like, reaching heaven after you die.
No, it's not about a final destination. It's more about continuous progress, like learning and refining the soul over and over.
So it's less about Judgment Day and more about this ongoing process of growth.
You got it. It's about constantly evolving, lifetime after lifetime. And this ongoing process, it's guided by what Spiritism calls the law of cause and effect.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Basically, what you do comes back to you.
That's the gist of it.
Mhm.
Every action creates a consequence, and those consequences, they shape your future experiences, and not just in this life. It carries over into future incarnations.
Whoa, so our actions have ripple effects across multiple lifetimes.
Exactly. Pretty profound when you think about it. And this, it ties directly into the idea of charity. Because Spiritism argues that it's through acts of charity, things like kindness, compassion, understanding, that we create those positive consequences.
So being charitable actually helps us move closer to spiritual enlightenment.
That's the idea. It's all interconnected.
It makes you think, that this whole outside charity, there is no salvation thing, it really flips the script on what salvation even means. It's not about religious rituals or dogma. It's about, like, how we live our lives, how we treat others, if we cultivate compassion and love.
That's a great way to put it. It's about the essence of who we are and how we interact with the world. And speaking of charity, I think it's important to point out that Spiritism defines this concept in a much, much broader sense than what we might typically think.
Yeah, right. When most people hear charity, they immediately think of, like, donations or volunteering.
Right, which are important.
Yeah.
But Spiritism goes way beyond that. It's way more expansive.
So it's not just about giving money or time, it's something bigger.
Much bigger. In Spiritism, charity is basically seen as the action of true love.
Love in action. I like that.
It encompasses, like, all forms of kindness, forgiveness, understanding. It extends to every interaction, every single one.
So even, like, a simple act of kindness, offering a genuine compliment or just listening to a friend, that could be a form of charity.
Absolutely. It's about bringing that spirit of goodwill, that compassion, and a genuine desire to uplift others into every interaction.
So it's like infusing every moment with good intentions.
You got it. And there's a quote from the Spirit's book that captures this so beautifully.
Here.
It says, "Charity is benevolence for all, indulgence for the imperfections of others, and forgiveness of offenses."
Wow. So it's not just about being nice. It's deeper than that.
It's about empathy, deep understanding, seeing the good in others, accepting their flaws, offering compassion, even when they mess up.
It's about choosing kindness, even when it's hard.
Exactly. And, this ties right back to the law of cause and effect. Because by practicing this kind of all-encompassing charity, we're not only helping other people, we're also creating positive karma for ourselves.
Ah, right. Setting in motion a chain of positive consequences.
That ultimately benefit our own spiritual growth. It all comes full circle.
Okay, so we've established that Spiritism has a broader view of both salvation and charity. But I'm curious, how does Kardec specifically break down this idea of charity? I know the articles mention two types, beneficent charity and benevolent charity.
Yeah, he does. And that distinction is really helpful. It allows us to grasp the full scope of what Spiritism means by charity.
Okay, so let's dive into that. What's the difference between these two types?
All right, so beneficent charity is what you might consider the more traditional forms of giving, like providing material assistance.
You mean like food, shelter, financial support, things like that?
That's it, providing for those in need. But, Kardec points out that this type of charity, while important,
Yeah, it can be limited.
by our resources, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone has the means to be constantly giving material goods.
Right, it's not always feasible.
But then there's benevolent charity, and this one, Kardec argues, is available to all of us. Doesn't matter what your financial situation is.
So it's about more than just money.
It's about kindness in thought, word, and deed.
Kindness as a way of life.
Exactly. Being understanding, compassionate, and forgiving in every interaction.
I see. So Kardec distinguishes these two types to acknowledge that not everyone can always give materially, but everyone has the capacity to cultivate kindness and compassion.
That's a key takeaway, for sure. And in fact, Kardec even suggests that benevolent charity might actually be even more powerful than beneficent charity.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Because it stems from a much deeper place, love and understanding. It's not just giving something away. It's about transforming your inner world.
Cultivating those virtues that allow us to see the divine spark in others.
Exactly. It's profound.
It's fascinating. It's like Spiritism is saying that true charity is an inside-out process. Like you got to cultivate those inner qualities first. And then they naturally flow outward into your interactions.
You got it. And this plays out in their emphasis on education and moral improvement as forms of charity.
Wait, how does education fit into charity? That's an interesting connection.
Well, Spiritism sees ignorance as one of the root causes of suffering.
Makes sense. Lack of knowledge can lead to poor choices.
Right. So by promoting education, you're not only helping individuals gain knowledge and skills, you're empowering them, helping them make better choices, live more fulfilling lives, and ultimately, contribute positively to society.
So it's about giving people the tools to help themselves, not just providing temporary relief.
Exactly. It's a more sustainable approach. And the same principle applies to moral improvement as well.
Okay, so by helping others develop their moral compass, we're actually contributing to their spiritual evolution and to the overall evolution of humanity as a whole.
You got it. There's a real ripple effect at play here.
Yeah, it's like by practicing charity in all these forms, we're not just helping individuals, we're creating a more just and compassionate world.
That's the vision. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected. Our actions have consequences that reach far beyond ourselves. So we have to choose to act in ways that promote the well-being of everyone.
It's a powerful reminder that we're all part of something larger. Now, the articles also mention the story from the Spirit's book about St. Vincent de Paul, and it highlights how Spiritism views charity in action.
Oh, yeah. St. Vincent de Paul, even after his physical death, he continued working to help others from the spiritual realm.
That's dedication.
It is. So in this story, he's advising a young man on how to give to charity. And he emphasizes that it should be done discreetly, in a way that uplifts the recipient, but doesn't reinforce their dependence.
So it's not about handouts. It's about empowering people to be self-sufficient, maintain their dignity.
Precisely. It's about respect and genuinely wanting to see them thrive.
What a beautiful message. It really underscores the idea that true charity, it's not about pity or creating a sense of obligation. It's about love, respect, and seeing the potential in others.
And this story, along with everything we've been talking about today, it brings to life how outside charity there is no salvation is more than just a cool phrase. It's a guiding principle. It's a way of life that permeates every aspect of how a Spiritist sees and interacts with the world.
It's a profound concept. It really challenges us to rethink our own understanding of charity and how it plays out in our own lives.
It's not just about occasional acts of kindness. It's about making compassion and understanding the foundation of everything you do.
It's about cultivating that mindset so it informs every thought, every word, every action.
You've got it. And that's something we can all strive for, whether we identify as spiritists or not. The message is universal.
We're really digging into how this concept expands our understanding of charity, like beyond just traditional giving. But I'm curious how this actually shows up in the lives of spiritists.
Oh, definitely. There are a lot of practical examples.
Oh, cool. Like what?
Well, one big one is the emphasis on personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Like Spiritism teaches that we're all accountable for our choices and actions, not just in this life, but across all lifetimes.
So there's no blaming others or making excuses.
Nope. It's about owning your mistakes and learning from them.
Interesting. So how does that tie back to charity?
Well, when you truly grasp that everyone's on their own unique spiritual path, facing their own challenges, carrying their own past experiences.
It becomes easier to forgive and be compassionate.
Exactly. We're all works in progress, right? Stumbling along that path toward enlightenment, each at our own pace.
Yeah, some of us tripping a little more than others.
Huh. Right. But even those who appear, bad or evil.
They're just souls at a different point in their journey.
Exactly. Instead of judging or condemning, Spiritism encourages us to approach them with understanding, with a genuine desire to help them progress.
So it's about breaking that cycle of judgment and punishment.
Yeah. Shifting the focus to compassion and support.
It makes you wonder how this perspective could change how we look at social issues. Instead of just punishing wrongdoers, what if we focus more on rehabilitation?
Right. Understanding the root causes that lead to negative behavior.
Because Spiritism says everyone has the capacity for change.
Absolutely. Regardless of their past actions, there's always potential for growth and transformation.
It's a powerful message of hope. Now, this motto, outside charity, there is no salvation. It's obviously super important in Spiritism, but it's not meant to be like this rigid rule.
Oh, for sure not. There are definitely nuances within the concept. For example, while charity is like the cornerstone, Spiritism also places a lot of importance on intellectual development, pursuing wisdom.
So it's not just about being kind, it's also about using your brain.
Right. Understanding the world around you.
Because knowledge without compassion can be dangerous.
Definitely. And there's this great quote from the Spirits book that really highlights how intellect and morality, how they work together. It says, the development of the intellectual faculties is indispensable to the progress of the moral faculties.
That makes a lot of sense. The more we understand about ourselves and the world, the better equipped we are to make good choices.
Yeah. And act with genuine compassion and understanding. It's not just about blind faith.
Right. It's about aligning your actions with your knowledge.
Exactly. Constantly learning, reflecting, refining your understanding.
It's an ongoing process.
A journey of self-discovery and spiritual evolution that unfolds, throughout all of our lifetimes. It's pretty cool when you think about it.
Definitely food for thought. Now, what about someone who's not a spiritist, but is really intrigued by this whole outside charity idea? How would this concept resonate with them?
That's a good question. I think the beauty of this phrase is that it really transcends any one religion.
It's a universal message.
It is. At its core, it's just a call to live with love, compassion, and understanding.
And those are values that everyone can get behind.
Exactly. Whether you believe in reincarnation or any of the other specific teachings of Spiritism, you can still find value in making charity a priority in your life.
It's about recognizing our shared humanity, treating each other with kindness and respect, no matter our differences.
You got it. And this brings us back to that broader definition of charity, right? It's not about grand gestures or big donations. It's about the little things.
The small acts of kindness, forgiveness, understanding.
Exactly. It's how we speak to the cashier, the patience we show a coworker having a bad day, the willingness to just listen to a friend who's struggling.
It's about infusing those everyday moments with kindness.
Yes. And those seemingly small acts, they can have a much bigger impact than we realize, not just on the other person, but on ourselves and the world around us.
It's like a ripple effect. Positive energy spreading outward.
And that's the true essence of outside charity. There is no salvation. It's the reminder that our spiritual growth, that journey toward enlightenment, it's all tied to our capacity for love and compassion.
It really makes you think about your own life. Am I truly living in a way that reflects these values?
It's a question worth asking ourselves every day. because in the end, our progress, our own evolution depends on it.
Wow, this deep dive into Spiritism has really given me a lot to process. Outside charity, there is no salvation. It's more than just a phrase, it's like a whole new way of looking at life.
It really is. And what stands out for me is just how expansive Spiritism's definition of charity is. It's not just about, like, giving stuff away. It's in every single interaction we have.
Right. And it's both challenging and exciting at the same time. Challenging because it takes like constant self-awareness and intentionality, things we don't always bring to our daily lives. But exciting because it means that every moment has the potential for like growth and positive change.
Couldn't agree more. It's like we're constantly being given these opportunities to practice charity, to become better versions of ourselves, and to help create a more loving and compassionate world.
Okay, so before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a question, something to really ponder as they go about their day.
Okay, lay it on me.
All right, here it is. Given that Spiritism sees charity as encompassing thoughts, words, and actions, basically everything we do, how might we be unknowingly acting against charity in our daily lives?
Oh, that's a good one. It kind of turns the whole thing on its head. Instead of like focusing on the big, obvious acts of charity, it makes you think about all the subtle ways we might be falling short.
Exactly. It's so easy to just get caught up in the daily grind and lose sight of those little things. Those small ways our thoughts, words, and actions might be causing harm or just spreading negativity.
It's the little things,
Yeah.
right? The sarcastic remark, the judgmental thought, the impatient gesture. We might not even notice them in the moment, but they can create these ripples of negativity that affect everyone around us.
And those subtle acts of unkindness, they often go unnoticed because they're so common. It's like we've become immune to that low-level negativity that's everywhere.
We might be used to it, but that doesn't make it okay. And that's why your question is so important. It forces us to really look at ourselves, to be more aware of how we might be contributing to suffering,
Yeah.
even if we don't realize it.
So the challenge then is to cultivate a higher level of awareness, to pay attention not only to our actions, but also to the thoughts and intentions behind them.
Absolutely. Becoming mindful of our inner world. Because thoughts have power, they create energy. And that energy can either uplift or harm.
And the amazing thing is that when we become more aware of those subtle ways we might be acting against charity, we simultaneously open ourselves up to all those opportunities to practice more kindness and compassion.
It's like we're always recalibrating our moral compass,
Mm.
fine-tuning our actions so that they align with love and understanding.
And in doing so, we not only contribute to our own spiritual growth, but we also inspire others to do the same.
It's that ripple effect again, positivity spreading outward, changing the world one interaction at a time.
This has been a fascinating deep dive. Exploring outside charity, there is no salvation, has been truly enlightening.
It has, and although it comes from Spiritism,
Yeah.
this concept offers wisdom for everyone, anyone seeking a more meaningful life.
Absolutely. It's been a real pleasure exploring this with you. A huge thanks to our listeners for joining us on this Spiritism deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.